Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. All right, welcome to episode 3 of the warehouse series. In this episode, we are going to take a look at a regional warehouse, and we're going to do it in the context of optimizing the profitability of an industry and taking advantage of the situation that we commonly see on a lot of these maps where we either have tons of meat and no beer, or tons of beer and no meat. So in this case, we're going to look at one where there's meat everywhere, but little beer to be found. So we're going to use free mode for this. We're going to go to the east to our favorite little spot. We can stick with 1830. It'd be the same for any of them. And we're going to give ourselves some money so that we don't have to wait too long for all this to happen. And let's start in Toledo. And I'm going to get rid of the competitors just because they're kind of irrelevant for this. I mean, the bidding would matter, how we bid up and buy things would matter with a competitor, but to keep it clean, we're going to give ourselves decent money. We're going to start in Toledo. I want to do it in free mode because, again, I don't think that the sandbox mode, it really accurately reflects your expenses or anything else. So let's just take this one, and we're going to ignore the objectives. So... oh, and who do we want to be? My favorite's the Trickster, so let's just go with her. Okay.
Your company has just been founded, and you have no competitors in this region. However, you have to pay attention to your list of tasks.
All right, so we're not going to pay attention to our list of tasks, but our objectives are to build a 2-cluster city, like we've done before, Toledo, Grand Rapids. You can guess what's coming, right? And then expand that and build 2 more cities, but do it in a way where we don't have to build another business. We just make a business that we already own, just rule the region, so to speak. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look around and say, okay, look, we've got meat. What's in Pittsburgh? More meat. What's in Buffalo? More meat. And 1 beer up here in Grand Rapids. So the first thing we're going to do is buy ourselves a brewery. Okay, now we own a brewery. So we are now making Attican beer, the best beer money can buy. And you're going to hear every kind of ad in the world. It's going to be great taste, less filling. When you're out of Attican, you're out of beer. You're going to hear them all. Okay, so let's start out like we always would with just a line. Oh, yeah. Let's run a line between Toledo and Grand Rapids. Whoops. Okay, so now we're going to have a line between Toledo and Grand Rapids. Our usual 140 miles. Amazing how often it comes out exactly to that. And we're going to run a line between the 2 on automatic with our little grasshopper. Run one the other direction. And we'll run a total of 4 trains because we found out 4 is the right number. And did I goof up? I must have messed up that line over there. Okay, now we'll run 4 trains. All right, now we have a beer industry. We want to make the most we can out of it. Obviously, we want to feed it wheat. So we're going to run wheat into our dear buddy here, and in fact, we're going to, since we have enough funds, we're going to first set up a line and see if we jump. I bet we do. We're going to set up a line like this. And the purpose of this line will be to take in goods from that side of the tracks, obviously, up to the north, from the north. And it looks like we didn't jump, so that's a good thing. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, we do want some wheat to go down to Toledo, so let's go ahead and make this a double station and run one line like so. And we missed the supply tower, so we better add one. All right, so now let's look at, and this is a good thing we want to look at too, route optimization for these freight lines. So right now, Toledo needs 1.2 wheat per week. I'm sorry, that was Grand Rapids. Then Toledo needs 0.9, so 1.3. Now, Toledo is a bigger city. That's why it needs almost as much as Grand Rapids, but Grand Rapids has the beer. That's why it needs more in proportion. So we need about 2 to 3, and we're going to grow, and we know we're going to grow some more. So we want to hit, say, let's say 4 a week. So that's every other week we need to get a train in there, right? So if we set up our line from here to here, running full, and I'm sorry, let me go back. We want to have enough wheat in Grand. In fact, let me go back and really actually do this right. I apologize. In Grand Rapids, we want to have 0.8 beer wheat for the beer, right? So Grand Rapids in total needs weekly demand of 1.3 wheat, right? And that would give us the beer. But then we can look at the beer and say, well, they need beer in Grand Rapids, but they also need beer down here. So we need almost 1 beer in a week in Toledo already, and we need half a beer in Grand Rapids. So we need to be making 1.5, and that's about where we are. So we're at a good spot right here. So we need to be able to supply that wheat into Grand Rapids to match that demand. So we're going to set up a line, and we're not going to be too exact in our math. I'm not a mathematician, but we're just going to ballpark this and say, okay, when I add this locomotive, and it won't work before you add the locomotive, but once I add the locomotive, I can look at this line again and see right down here and see it's going to take 59 days to make a full circuit. So that means every 59 days on average, this train's going to pop into that station and drop off 8 wheat. Well, that's not fast enough. That's given us, it really works out to about 50. Around 50 is where you're dropping off a little better than 1 a week into a city. So we know we need at least 2 or 3 a week now. So we would like to have that 60 number there drop down to about 30. So guess what? If we run one more train, now we've got 2 trains running to Grand Rapids, and for now, that's going to be a pretty good number. But we know we're going to grow. We know both cities are going to grow. So if we run 2 plus an extra, that's going to give us a pretty good flow of wheat. We're not going to have a lot of waiting. And see, we've got train loading right now, but that's not going to happen for long. And we're going to be able to supply the wheat we need to keep that beer satisfied and keep that beer flowing. Because remember, we own the beer now. That's our moneymaker. All right. So we want to go ahead and give wheat to our good friends in Toledo. So we'll hook them up too. And we can go ahead and put the interim stuff on this freight line because we don't care about spreading them out. We want them to get to their goal as fast as they can. All right, and now before we build a second line, let's just see what we need specifically for Toledo. Toledo needs wheat, needs 0.9, about 1 a week. And it's going to grow and grow and grow. So we probably want to be probably at 3 or 4 a week eventually. So we're probably going to need to double track this. So let's just go ahead and bite the bullet, double track this. Okay, we want to come down as far as we can and wait for our chance. We're already set to go back correctly, and we'll make sure up here at the top that we have that stop signal and put in our interims. Okay, now we have the ability to run multiple trains to Toledo. So let's set one up and see what kind of a cycle we get for it. So run full to Toledo. And we need to put a train on so it can do the calculation. So with that train running, it's going to take 80 days. So if we run 2 or 3, we're probably going to have to run about 2 or 3 trains down to Toledo. So let's just do that. Let's run 2, let's run 3. So that's a lot of wheat trains. See, we've spent all our money just setting up the wheat. But we've got a brewery that's starting to make a profit. Not much yet, but it will. It'll grow. And we've got wheat lines that are going to be making money, and we've got our lines between the 2 cities that are definitely making money, doing really well. All right, so now let's borrow some funds. Let's issue some bonds and keep going with this. Now we want to do just kind of standard growth for these cities. Our meat is over here. We would like to have meat steady supply, so we're going to run it directly in. And I think the way I'd like to do it again, and this is where we probably will get a jump, so to avoid that, I am going to make all these guys explicitly, I should have done it beforehand, I'm going to tell them that you have to come out of, see here. I want them to come out of track 3 in Grand Rapids and track 2 in Toledo. Okay. So do track 3, please. And that'll actually take care of both ends. And Grand Rapids, do track 3, please. And do track Grand Rapids, do track 3, please. And from Grand Rapids, do track 3. Okay. Now I went through all that hassle because I'm going to build another line here. I'm going to build another double line. We're going to really set these up to grow. We'll build another double line, like so. We'll build my little super highway. I miss my super highways. So we've got the nice super highway running here. We can set up our directions. Put in our interim signals. All right, looking good. Now we can use that line to bring in stuff from over here. So we've got our meat we want to get. So let's start our meat process here. Pardon me. Let's run a line. I'd love to catch that. Yeah, catch that supply tower. So we connect, we check, we bump over to the other side, we check our signals and make sure everything is cool, and then we do the other side of our connection. Like so. Come down here as far as you can, pardon me, to wait in line. Okay, and we can do the same thing for how much meat do we want to ship. We've got a meat industry that needs 3.6 now, and it's going to grow a couple of times. So we need to run about every week we need to get a delivery in there. So that would be at least a 50. So let's see what happens when we set up I think I just duplicated a train somewhere. Okay, so we set up a line like so. Put a train on it. And then we can check and see. 75 days, we want to definitely cut that one down. So we know we need at least one more train. And we'll kind of use our formula of one more makes it mathematically correct, and one above that makes it nice and conservative. So now we've got plenty of trains running meat into Toledo to let that meat business grow. And that'll feed Grand Rapids. Okay. We've also got textiles, so we need to do the same thing. We need to run our textile business. Our cotton, rather. Come on. Okay, we bumped over. I'm going to do my double tracking. And we are going to miss our supplies on this one. Now let me make sure the signals are correct first. There we go. That all looks good. And let's, yeah, I think it might be better to just give them a tower off the line. Okay. So now we can do the same thing and figure out our textile industry needs 1.6 now. It's going to grow, so we need about 3 or 4 a week probably. So to see how we're doing. We got 58, so that's probably 1. So again, we probably need at least 2 to get there and 1 more to be safe. So There's our trains running into Toledo to supply textiles. And that'll help this one grow. Now, let's just see. Now, we're getting, let's do wood too. Why not? It's sitting right here in front of us. That one right there can't stay. I need you to go. Well, that's a tight one, isn't it? There's no space there. Yep, that should work though. All right, so we'll run wood down here. And let's look at our time, 38 days. So that's better than, that's pretty good. Now that should work. So we only need one, so that should work for quite a while. And we could run another one if we wanted to, but that should work just fine. And we can do the same thing going this way. And yes, I could have built a warehouse here. I've been well aware of that. And this one is very tight. Let's see if we even have enough room just to put a little side ramp here. Oh, there's just no space. Okay, we're going to have to run one train. Lesson learned there, don't put your stations so close to the line you're trying to merge with. Okay, we'll run one train. All right, so we've got logs, we've got wheat, we've got cattle and cotton. We've got, you know, other stuff we could do. We've got 2 cities growing, so we're looking good. But we want to be in the beer business, right? So our beer business is making us good money, $4,000 a week. And we're getting good supply of wheat as we expected. But let us say, now we want to say, okay, why can't we grow Indianapolis? You know, I mean, what's wrong with Indianapolis? We can grow Indianapolis. Now, obviously, Indianapolis, we could easily just connect straight from our beer business and run a line and start selling beer to Indianapolis. But I want to be able to build up Indianapolis and Louisville, and who knows, maybe even Pittsburgh, out of this same setup. So what I'm going to wait on here, where are we on money? We're going to put a warehouse out here. Where are we going to put it? Kind of centrally located. Okay. And why did we put this warehouse out here? Because we want this warehouse to hold beer. And what beer do we want it to hold? Well, of course, we want it to grab its beer from Is that the best way we could do that? Let's see. Hope y'all noticed I used the little spinning wheel, middle wheel for that move right there. Very proud of myself. Okay, that's kind of a ridiculous looking line for... That's a little less, well, that's pretty ridiculous looking too. Okay, okay. And I'd better do some setting of maintenance here before we start having trains falling apart on us. Oh, looky here. A tailor shop would be lovely there, wouldn't it? And I think we might just get one anyway. All right. So what we're going to do here, and we'll double track it and all that good stuff later, but we're going to set up a line from here to here. And it's probably only going to grab beer anyway. But we're going to make it full and say, take beer out to our warehouse, please. And it'll slowly load. It's going to take a while to get this thing rocking and rolling because we're going to have to increase our beer. We want to run that beer up. So we really want to do that even more so than owning this business. Because remember, we're in the beer business. We taste great, we're less filling. trains doing? As you can see, our trains are doing just fine for 1830. They're making good money. And we're still in the first year here. And there we go. Now we're starting to ship some beer off to our warehouse. And we got a sawmill, good choice, good choice. We got wood coming in there, so that's something that both cities can use. That was a good choice. Okay, let's bump that brewery up. Increase that production. And now the next thing we do is we start connecting up our cities we want to expand to. So we want to do Indy and Louisville, or Louisville, I'm trying to say it like that, Louisville. We want to do Indy and Louisville, and actually want them to come into a supply tower here. So we want a train to grab, might as well run full. Grab that beer from our brewery and run it over to Indianapolis. So now we're selling beer in 3 cities with our brewery. Our brewery's making good money. And we've got demand for beer of 1.2 plus 1, that's 2.2, plus 0.5, so 2. So we need 3. We need to be at least at 3. We're producing 3.2. We're kind of right on the number right now. And we want to get a little over that number. So the next thing we can do, if we want to, is we can go down here to Louisville and run a line, not to Indianapolis, but to our warehouse. Like so. And set up a supply tower for it. And we're going to run a train that says, fill me up with beer and take me to Louisville. Now we're selling to Louisville, which we were at about 3. Louisville has a demand of 1. So we're up to 4. Our demand's 4. So we probably need to bump up our brewery yet again to make even more money. I think it's 800. Yeah, we need 800,000 to bump it up again. think we're going to do let's do the John Bull thing. Let's get everybody running John Bulls. It's expensive, but that's going to speed up everything. And we do, by the way, need to have some repairs right here. Now, the idea of this is, one, we're optimizing this brewery. So we're trying to make as much money as we possibly can out of this brewery. But on top of that, we're trying to set up a situation where we could actually have other goods being made in these cities. So like here's a clothier. Now we don't have one in either of these cities. So we could very easily use our regional warehouse now, set up a line to Toledo, start shipping those textiles to our warehouse, and start shipping this clothing back to our warehouse. And now our regional warehouse is creating a situation where clothing can go to Toledo and to Grand Rapids, and for that matter, to Indianapolis. So now, that would just be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? But let's bump up our beer. Let's stay focused on the beer. Oh, I can't turn that down, sorry. Can't turn down museums. I can't turn down 2 museums, doggone it. Oh my goodness, Toledo is really growing well. We're really not doing a whole lot to make it grow, are we? I mean, we're not having to bring in a bunch of stuff. It does have stuff coming in overland, which is helping it. By the way, what I'm doing right here, this is not exactly how you would probably do it in a real world, well, real world as in playing a real scenario or whatever. You would have the connections. We'd have lines, more income coming in from the lines, the city to city lines, bringing stuff in. But I wanted to just kind of illustrate the concept and how it would work. So that 800,000 I need for this, I could probably get that a lot faster. In fact, I am getting tired of waiting on it. Let's pay that one off. We didn't gain very much from that, but let's expand our brewery. Now we're making 6.4 a week. And here's the one that's going to work out very nicely. We're going to take our remaining line, run out here to our warehouse. We'll have this warehouse take in both textiles and clothing. In fact, we could have it do lumber as well. We know we're producing lumber in Grand Rapids. That'll make these trains fill up faster. That's all great. So now it's starting to explode on us, which is what we want. Should have done that from the other side. Now you can see this stuff like this train right here. See, he's taking beer and wood back here, which is really coming from Grand Rapids. And the Grand Rapids trains, what are they doing? See, here's wood and beer that he's taking out. Wood and beer that he's taking out. Or lumber and beer, I should be saying. Into the warehouse. And all these other cities can use them. So now we're really, so little Louisville's growing. Indianapolis is almost growing. It was for just a second there. Even though we haven't, all we have to do now is just give them a meat industry, or better yet, why don't we supply meat in our regional warehouse and let this line right here start also bringing us meat on top of everything else. So then we can say, okay, well, what industry do we need to feed all 4 cities? So we've got our 3 slots here, so now we've got paper being produced. We could throw paper out there too if we wanted to. Do we have space? Sure we do. One more. Let's throw one more in here. If I can find it. And now we could say, what else do we want out here? Could put a dairy farm. We could put anything. Make tools, whatever. Build another regional warehouse. Start putting all these extra things out here that we want fed or want supplied. And now we've got Toledo growing. We've got Grand Rapids growing. We've got Indianapolis growing, or excuse me, Louisville growing big time. Indianapolis is kind of being left behind. Now, why is that? Because they don't really, they're just on the cusp, and because they have only a meat industry. So if we really bought out that meat industry and gave them something else to do that was useful, we could do that and maybe supply a different warehouse with it. But anyway, that's kind of the idea of a regional warehouse in terms of supplies. So you basically, and let's see how our brewery's doing. 16,000 a week. It's already made over $1 million in profit for us. We could bump it up again without any trouble. Here we go. Now it's going to be making more money. We're going to be shipping more beer. We've got plenty of consumers of that beer. See, we're not even keeping the warehouse full of it. So everybody's growing, everybody's happy. We could put what do we want to put in here? Distillery. Give them alcohol. That'd be okay. Oh, we can go wherever we want. It doesn't really matter. So I hope you get the idea there with the regional warehouse. You can see that it does work. We got these two are working great because they're just a 2-city cluster, right? But we've got Louisville already up to a level 4 city. It's not growing right this second. We can give it a museum and help it out, obviously. Whoa, come back here. Oops, sorry about that. Give them a nice little museum. Louisville, so we've got 3 cities growing. We've got our oddball here is Indianapolis. And what we could do to make Indianapolis really work, now look at our money. Our money's really starting to rack up now. We could take that meat industry, buy that baby out because it's a poor one. Yep. Okay, so we buy that meat industry, and then we could put like a dairy in Indianapolis and then run that dairy out. So we could run the milk down here, probably straight into Indy. Yeah, that's what we'd do. And then we would put another warehouse out here that all these 4 cities could talk to, and we'd start putting dairy products, and then we'd have a distillery in one of these cities and put our alcohol out here and what have you, and start running lines to it. And next thing you know, we'd be growing everybody even more. So that's just an alternative way of growing the city by using a regional warehouse, or what I'm calling a regional warehouse, to kind of supply the goods that are being manufactured all around. And let's just see how our brewery's doing. 14,000 a week. It's doing well for us. I mean, you can see though the money we spent on it, we were really actually behind. We still haven't made up all the money we've invested in it. So, but it's growing our quarterly profit. What's our quarterly profit look like? Almost $1 million a year, and we're in our third year. So this approach, even without having enough city to city lines, is actually working quite well and working for us. Now, do I like this approach? Yeah, it's okay. What I really like, though, if we wanted to redo this one, I would have a 4-city cluster and have all 4 of these cities sending direct lines city to city to every other one, scratch that warehouse, and just supply each one with whatever it was they made, and then have each city supplying each of the other cities, and that way all our products could automatically be sent everywhere. We wouldn't have to build a second warehouse and what have you. So while the regional warehouse idea would work, it's a different way of doing it. But I really like the clusters that we've been building, the 2, 3, and 4 city clusters that we've been building. And you'll notice still, our best 2 cities are still in our 2-city cluster right here. Although Louisville continues to do very well. It's up to 82,000. So it's doing just fine, thank you very much. And they're all doing just fine for 3 years in, less than 3 years in. So I hope you got some ideas out of that. It's not something I would necessarily strongly recommend, but it is a different way to do it, and I kind of enjoyed it because it was different. It wasn't the same old thing we're always trying to do. And we could probably optimize this a little bit more, make sure we got the right number of trains running on each of these lines to feed the warehouse and then to feed the cities going backwards. And again, make sure that we had something like a dairy industry or something here in Indianapolis so that it was playing in the dance. Because if it was playing in the dance, that 59 would bump it over, and we would have no problem having Indianapolis grow as well. And once it started growing in, of course, it could play more and more. It could have we could throw a distillery in there, and like I said, and do alcohol. So we could do alcohol and milk here. We're doing clothing down here. We could take out that meat industry. This is another one we could buy. See, it's not that terribly expensive. We could buy that and put something else in. But if you'll notice, see, we're already got to be over 90. Yeah, we're over 90,000 in 3 of our cities already in under 3 years. So that's pretty strong growth. All right, let's just wrap it up right there. I hope you got the idea of the how to figure out your freight. Like, kind of use 50 as your baseline to kind of say, if I can get a number around 50 or under 50, I'm probably going to be able to do 1 a week of delivery. And if I need 2 a week, then obviously I need a number that's more down around 25. So if 1 train gives me 50, I need 2 trains. If 1 train gives me 100, I need 4 trains to get down to 25. So everybody kind of follow that, I hope. And that just gives you a ballpark way of doing your calculations. If you're a good mathematician, feel free to actually work it all out and get it exactly right. Nothing wrong with that. Feel free, but I find that 50 works pretty well. And you can take her from there. And if you want to go this route with the regional warehouse, where I was thinking this might be useful is, like, say that map, the Yellowstone map, the one did a couple of the ones with the annotations, and you got that beer up in your starting city of Miles City, and then you've got meat in Billings, and you got meat down in Casper, and meat all the way down in Cheyenne. And so you could build out your, buy the brewery, if the competitors will let you, buy the brewery in Miles City and then run a regional warehouse down here and hook it up, bring the meat in from one of those other places and put it into that warehouse. And that way you could exchange meat and beer between all 4 cities, but your beer would be really supplying all 4 cities. And like this one, you could have, look at this, 28,000 profit last week. I mean, it's just raking in money, and we could probably expand it again. Let's go ahead and run it up to level 5 just to see what happens before we call it a day on this thing. Okay, so now we own a level 5 brewery, and it demands how much wheat a day? That's what we need to double check. we need almost 10 wheat a day, or 10 wheat a week in Louisville. So we have to be better than once a week. And what are we right now? We have 3 trains running around 35 days. So 10, that's actually pretty good. Let's give them one more. And you can see this dude here. This would have been a good thing to buy, by the way, this farm. But it's already up to a level 4. It's producing 16.8 a week because the owner of this, the private owner, has realized that we have such a demand for it for the beer and such a demand for it for Toledo that we are that it needs to level itself up, and it's already gone all the way up to level 4. And then you know, that brings another point. We haven't even fed anything. Look at how Louisville has grown to 105,000. We're not even giving it anything. We're not, you know, except for what it's grabbing here. Now, the good thing about Louisville, it's got that corn right by it, so that corn is just flying in there. It's got milk right here. That's probably why it now has a dairy industry. It's got cotton coming up, but it doesn't really use the cotton. It's even got wood. Let's see if it's getting wood. It's probably even getting some wood. Yeah, it's getting some wood. It's certainly getting corn. All it needs is the corn. It's probably getting milk. Yep, it's getting milk. It's probably getting sugar. No, it's not getting sugar. That's interesting. However, Toledo is. So we could run sugar down there and keep it growing. But anyway, the possibilities are endless. You could do all kinds of things. And that's one of the reasons I'm thankful that this game gives you specific tasks like this that you actually have to do. And you can see we weren't even close. We did get our quarterly revenue fast, but there were all kinds of stuff they wanted us to do. Okay. So, but I'm thankful that they have those task lists, because without it, I mean, you could just go anywhere with this game, and for me, that doesn't work. For a lot of people, that works. They like to just say, oh, what if I tried this? What if I tried that? I like to try the theory, but once I have the theory down, I'm kind of get bored with the actual execution. I'm glad that they have those task lists that we have to strike out and try to do specific things. Anyway, enough of that. I hope you enjoyed that. You can see this is a perfectly valid approach. You can see we're making a lot of money. We've got, what's our last quarterly? Here, we're coming up on June. Let's just run it through June, then we'll quit. Quarterly results last month weren't so great. They were pretty good. Our industry, 167 a quarter. Freight is still our biggie, just as you would expect. And we're not doing passengers and freight mail much because we only connected 2 cities together. So again, what you'd want to do is connect your cities first, and then you would start thinking about your regional warehouse. But here we go. Our quarterly report comes out. We're making almost $1 million a quarter, and again, we're not doing much with passengers and mail. But our industry is excellent. 221 for the quarter. Freight 800 over 800. So we're doing over $1 million in just freight and industry. With our the only industry we own, our brewery. So let's just wrap it up right there. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.